Hey, what's up guys, it's probably not maybe your favorite YouTuber here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who story number 15. I don't know why this is 15, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I just put 1 and 1 together to make 11, and then 12, 13, 14, 15, I don't know. Anyway, the Space Museum. Now, I don't really know why this was combined with the chase. I mean, like, the rescue and the Romans, it makes a little bit of sense because the rescue is only a two-parter. Therefore, a standalone release, it would seem kind of strange. I don't think that people would like it if they paid $20 for just a two-part story. But I'm not really sure why this was combined with the chase. I'm not really sure. The Space Museum is a story of Doctor Who that most people don't really like. Well, at least they say that part 1 is very interesting and it has a little bit of mystery, but then parts 2, 3, and 4, it just tends to fall to crap, which in my opinion is, like, I think this was a pretty good story completely throughout. In fact, it's my 6th favorite William Hartnell story, which, when I say 6th favorite, it might not seem like a lot, but when you think about it, there are actually 29 William Hartnell stories out there, so for it to be number 6 on a list with 29 minus 6 is 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, with 23 stories beneath it, it actually, like, only 5 stories have beaten it. You know what I'm trying to say. But anyway, so like I did with the Crusade, I just marathoned through all 4. Well, not marathoned. I had to do some math homework. There were 2 questions. My plan was to watch the first 2 episodes and then do 1 question, then watch the other 2 and then do another question. But after part 2 ended, I really didn't want to do my math homework, so I watched part 3. Excuse me while I ramble for a bit. So then I watched part 3. And then I just did both questions, and then I kind of got distracted for a bit, and then I came back and watched part 4. But technically, I did just watch all 4 episodes. So, the Space Museum takes place directly after the Crusades left off. So the Doctor and his companions leave the Crusade in times, whatever, and then they all of a sudden freeze, and then they manage to wake up eventually, only to discover that they're no longer in their clothes from the Crusaden times, they're in their normal clothes that they normally wear on their normal adventures. But, so, that's peculiar. And then when Vicky goes to check a closet, the closet in the back of the TARDIS, she finds that their clothes from the Crusaden times are just there. Then she tries to get a glass of water for the Doctor, and then she accidentally drops it and it smashes onto the floor, only for it to, the shattered pieces of glasses to just come back together, and then the water just jump back in, and then the glasses just leap back into Vicky's hands. And when they leave the TARDIS, they notice even more peculiar things, such as they don't leave any footprints in the sand. Like, they go into a museum and they spend a lot of time wasting, because, like, okay, the thing is, okay, I'll just say the story real quick, brief summary. So, they try to hide from the people in the museum, make sure not to touch anything, because they don't want to leave fingerprints or anything like that, only to discover that later when they're accidentally spawned, they realize that no one else can see or hear them, and in fact they can't hear anyone else either. So, like, they can see the other people but they can't hear them, and the people in the working at the museum can't see or hear them. And in fact, when Vicky tries to touch something, she finds out that her hand goes right through it, and in fact they can't touch anything. And then at the end of part 1, they see themselves in glass cases, and they see the TARDIS and their exhibits in a museum. And the thing is that apparently they skipped a time track in the 4th dimension, so in reality they're not actually there. It's really confusing how they say it. It doesn't really make any sense. I doubt even the writers of the story even knew what they were talking about. But it's a pretty interesting concept. Basically, at the end of the story, it's revealed that something went wrong in the TARDIS, but, like, they jumped ahead forward in time a little bit, even though in the space-time continuum technically wasn't ready for them to be there. So then they walk around, and then they see themselves in an exhibit, and then all of a sudden they all freeze again, and then they're thawed out again, only to notice that the exhibits of themselves are gone now, and they have officially arrived, so now they're officially in the museum. They can officially hear other people, those other people can officially see and hear them, they'll leave footprints, they can touch stuff and everything. But now they're going to have a series of events that lead up to them being trapped in the cases, and that's what part 2, 3, and 4 are all about. Them, because, like, the thing is that, like, if like, you know those time travel stories that are very interesting when like, so, like, I don't know, like, there's a list of people who, like, I'm not sure, maybe this movie already exists, I don't know, this is just something that I made up. Maybe this movie actually exists somewhere. If it is, tell me in the comments, because this is actually a pretty cool idea. There are a crew of people, and they have a list of their names, and in order that they're going to die, and they have the exact time that they're going to die as well. But of course, they don't know how they're going to die or where they're going to die. All they know is who's going to die and when. Therefore, they try to do everything that they can, because of course whoever is next on the list would of course be under the most stress. Everyone else who's on the list but not next would officially be immortal, technically. So like, the people who are on the list but aren't... Okay, I'll finish saying that, but aren't on the list are technically able to do whatever they want and not have to worry about death because they're not next on the list. But whoever is next on the list, say, dies at 11 o'clock in the morning. So like at 10:59, they're supposedly in a situation where it seems like nothing can kill them, and then something just happens at 11 o'clock that kills them. And then, you know, like, you can't really change the past is basically the moral of the story. Do you know what would also be pretty interesting is if it didn't say when they were going to die, it just said who was going to die in what order. So like, say it was just like me and then two of my friends. So like, it's like I have friend number 1 is going to die first, I'm going to die second, and friend number 2 dies third. But the thing is that I know that since it's official on the space-time continuum list, I'm not gonna die until friend number 1 dies first. So I can like go out into the streets and like jaywalk on highways and stuff like that, jump out of airplanes without parachutes, not having to worry about death, as long as my first friend is still alive. I know that I am free to do whatever I want and not have to worry about death in any way. But while I'm doing that, the space-time continuum will protect itself and make sure that I stay alive. But the moment that friend number 1 dies, I can't do that anymore. And the space-time continuum won't try to protect me anymore. If I jump out of an airplane without a parachute, the space-time continuum won't even care at this point. It'll just let me die, and then I'll just be putting friend number 2 in danger. But you know, it's just very interesting how the space-time continuum... Like, but the space-time continuum isn't officially defending itself either. It's just by pure coincidence that things save me. I don't know, just it's a very interesting concept what the Space Museum tries to do here. And yeah, then they start to get a little bit into the history of the planet. There are the Morlocks, which sound a lot like Morlocks from the Time Machine. But anyway, they invaded the planet, which was originally a planet of peace. Sounds familiar, like the planet Dido. And then, and then they start a revolution and stuff like that. There was this, I found it funny in part 1, how the Doctor was always telling Vicky, don't touch things, and like for the first like 20 or so minutes of the show, like no one's touching anything because they don't want to do it, but like the whole time they could have easily just been waving their hands in front of it. It seemed like a waste of superpowers, honestly. They were officially superpowers right there. They were invisible and intangible, so they could have just like, they could have just like run through walls and stuff like that. But where was I going? So there was this machine in part 3, I believe, that you would have to cut through this thing, but then it'll trigger the machine, which will play a recording of questions. Because, like, there's this room, and there are weapons in that room. But if you want to get into the room, the room's over here. You want to get into this room. In order for you to get into... Sorry, when I'm looking at myself in the camera, left is right and right is left. So you're over here. You want to get into the room. But as soon as you get close to the room, a light goes off and there's this door. And the door won't be opened until this machine over here has played through a whole bunch of questions and you've answered them. But it has to be the truth. It's an official lie detector, but it also has to be the correct answer as well. But the machine asks so many questions. It like asks, like, do you have like a weird card signed by the governor? What's its reference number? What's the current password? There's so many questions. They were really nervous about their security right there. But I find it interesting though, because like they try to make, I don't know, I don't blame them for not making the conclusion make sense, because I have no idea how anyone would be able to make the conclusion make sense. But basically what happens is after doing a whole bunch of stuff, they finally manage to change the future. But supposedly the themselves in the cases would have done those exact same things too. I guess something that you could say is that they didn't. Maybe. Okay, here's something. What if originally they did officially arrive and they didn't go through all that mystery stuff in part 1? They did arrive as normal human beings. They did all that, and then they didn't know that they were going to end up in cases, so they ended up in cases. But then the Dr. Barbara, Ian, and Vicky in the TARDIS from another dimension, where something clicked in. Another dimension that's exactly the same as the original, it's just 2 things. Number 1, it's a little bit behind. The Big Bang happened about 12 hours or so later. So it's exactly the same, it's just the events are happening a little bit later. And the other only difference in that dimension is that something happens in the TARDIS that causes them to click in into sort of the other dimension, even though they're not. They're kind of in this bridge between their dimension and the other dimension. And then they see themselves in their cases, and then finally they just, in the middle of those 2 dimensions, finally just slide over to the other dimension, and then they have to, now they know officially that they're going to end up in cases, so then they do all those changes. That would be interesting. But, yeah, would I recommend this story? Yes, it is one of my personal favorite First Doctor stories. Would others recommend it? No, for some reason, but I really enjoyed this. I don't see why other people didn't like it. I mean, honestly, I don't know what was wrong with it. But, you know, so, yeah. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like so that I know that you enjoyed it. And if you didn't like it, give it a dislike so that I know that you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you thought of the story. I want to know if you thought it was a good story, or if it was a bad story, or if you thought it was okay, or if you didn't watch it. If you didn't watch it, then just go watch it and then leave a comment. But also, if you like this video, then leave a comment down below saying why you liked it, because it feels awesome when we get another subscriber or something. And it honestly does. And if you didn't like it, then leave a comment down below saying why you didn't like it so that I can improve for the next time. And you're not just leaving me hanging, having no idea how to improve. So, yeah, don't leave me hanging. It's just weird. And subscribe so that I know when my next video comes out. And I'll see you next time when I review story number... Oh shoot, I'm out of fingers. How do I show 16? Let's do this again. Okay. This is officially 11, and it's also 16. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Have I reviewed 15 stories already? Alright. Story number 16, The Chase. So, yeah. Kind of weird, because I think I might have mentioned this before. In The Rescue and the Romans... I'll save it for the next video. It's just the cover's kind of weird. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time. Bye. Alright, I'll say it. In The Rescue and the Romans, it lives...